Welcome to the deep dive. So we're doing something a little different today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, think of it like hyper-distilled knowledge.
Huh.
We've sort of looked at the bigger picture and pulled out the absolute core ideas.
Okay.
We're boiling them down into what we're calling, well, our summary of 8 really interesting points. Consider it your fast track to some pretty potent insights.
Right. Okay. And these 8 points, they're not just random, I assume.
No, not at all. They're largely shaped by the principles you find in Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Ah, okay. The bestseller.
Exactly. I mean, loads of people know it, right?
Yeah.
Translated into, what, over 40 languages?
Yeah, it really struck a chord globally. And the core message is pretty universal, isn't it? That, big results often come from really small, seemingly tiny changes.
That's it, precisely. So our mission, really, for you listening, is to get under the skin of these 8 summarized points.
Digging deeper into the summary.
Yeah, taking stuff that's already condensed and pulling out the absolute best bits, the actionable stuff that could genuinely, shift how you think about progress and habits.
Makes sense. Saving people time, getting straight to the core insights.
Exactly. So let's dive into this first fascinating summary point.
Okay, so this first one from our summary of 8, it really gets down to the basic unit, doesn't it? The atomic habit.
Right.
Now, Clear's work, it really emphasizes these super small changes. He talks about atomic meaning, well, the absolute smallest part, the tiniest piece of a bigger system, but also, and this is key, a source of immense power. It's quite something.
It is. It really reframes how you think about improving things, doesn't it?
Totally.
Because, your gut feeling is often to go big, make some grand gesture when you want a major change.
Yeah, the New Year's resolution effect.
Exactly. But this first point says, hang on, maybe it's these tiny, almost invisible adjustments that are actually like the real engines of change. Makes you rethink where you put your energy.
Precisely. And that naturally leads into defining what a habit even is. It's presented as, a routine, something you do regularly, almost an automatic response to a certain situation. So when you really get how these two ideas connect, the atomic part and the habit part, you realize we're building on the most basic bits of our behavior.
It's tiny, automated actions.
Yeah, and crucially, the ones that build on each other over time. That compounding effect.
Okay, yeah, that sets a really solid foundation. Let's move to the second summarized point then.
All right.
This one, I have to say, it really struck a chord with me because it touches on something that can be, well, pretty frustrating about making progress.
Which is?
That it's usually slow. It's this steady climb.
Yeah.
Not some sudden jump to the finish line.
Ah, yes. And what's interesting there, thinking about Clear's work, is that visual he uses, the graph.
Oh, the 1% graph.
Exactly, showing the impact of just getting 1% better each day. You see those 3 lines, right? One shooting up for that tiny daily improvement.
Yeah.
One plummeting just as steeply for a 1% daily decline. And then the flat line for just staying the same. It's stark. Really shows the long-term impact of those small daily things.
That picture does stick with you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It makes it so clear that even though those little improvements feel like nothing day to day,
Right. Insignificant.
over the long haul, the cumulative effect is, well, massive.
Yeah.
It's all about patience and just sticking with it.
You
It's
bet.
not looking for the quick fix.
Exactly. It really pushes back against our, human desire for instant results. We see stories of overnight success all the time.
Yeah, everywhere.
But the truth, especially with habits, is that real lasting progress usually comes from those consistent tiny steps. So that raises a question for you listening, maybe. Could focusing too much on immediate wins be making you overlook the power of those small day in, day out efforts?
Definitely something worth pondering.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so our third summarized point, this one kind of turns the lens inward. It looks at how our identity shapes our habits.
Yeah.
The idea here is that really changing habits for good is maybe less about hitting a target and more about becoming a certain type of person.
Yes, this is such a crucial distinction. I mean, Clear talks about those 3 layers of behavior change, right? Outcomes, processes, and identity.
Right.
And lots of us focus on outcomes. I want to lose X pounds, or I want to learn Spanish, or maybe we focus on the process, the system.
Specific actions.
Yeah. But the deepest, most lasting change, that seems to happen at the identity level.
So it's not just wanting to be someone who exercises. It's starting to see yourself as an active person. Is that the idea?
That's exactly it. When your habits start to weave into your sense of self, they stop being things you force yourself to do, and they become just reflections of who you are. That intrinsic connection makes them way more likely to stick.
Mm.
And what's really interesting is it works both ways. Your habits also shape and strengthen that identity over time. It's like a feedback loop.
That's actually, yeah, that's a really powerful way to think about it. It makes total sense that if you genuinely believe you're that kind of person, you're just naturally going to act that way more often.
Okay, right. Let's keep moving. Point number 4 in our summary. This one highlights how vital it is to make the habits you want. Well, obvious.
Yes, and this lines up perfectly with the first of Clear's 4 laws of behavior change. Make it obvious.
Right.
Our environment, our surroundings, they have this huge pull on our habits. Often we don't even notice it.
Subconscious cues.
Exactly. So the more visible a cue is for something you want to do, the higher the chance you'll actually, notice it and do it.
Okay, so simple example. If I want to read more, just leaving a book right there on my nightstand that works better than having it hidden away on a shelf somewhere.
Absolutely. It's about engineering your environment, placing cues for the good habits where you'll trip over them, basically, and hiding the cues for the habits you want to break.
It lets you subtly guide your own behavior in a pretty powerful way. And the beauty is, it's simple. You're just designing your space to help you out.
That's incredibly practical. I like that. Okay, point 5 now in our summary.
Yeah.
This shifts to making habits attractive. It's not enough just to see the cue, right? We also have to actually want to do the thing.
Yeah, this hits the second law. Make it attractive. The more appealing a habit feels, the stronger that pull is to actually do it. Our brains are kind of wired to seek pleasure, avoid pain.
Sure.
So if you can link the habit you're aiming for with something you genuinely enjoy, it boosts your motivation significantly.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Like pairing something I maybe don't love, say a tough workout, with something I do love, like listening to a really gripping audiobook or podcast, suddenly the workout feels way more enticing.
That's a perfect example. That's what Clear calls temptation bundling, linking something you want to do with something you need to do.
Right.
It's about creating a little reward, even just an immediate one, that makes the habit feel better right now. What stands out to you about this idea of making habits attractive?
I think it's the realization that just relying on sheer willpower, it often doesn't cut it, does it?
Not usually, no.
You have to kind of hack your own desires, make the habits themselves feel good. Okay, so point number 6 builds on this. It stresses making habits easy, minimizing the friction.
On to the third law, make it easy. The less effort, the less resistance there is to doing a habit, the more likely you are to actually follow through.
Makes sense.
It's all about simplifying the process, getting rid of obstacles, making that first step feel almost effortless.
So, like, if my goal is to start writing every day, instead of aiming for an hour straight off, which feels huge.
Right, overwhelming.
It's better to just commit to, say, writing for 2 minutes, or even just opening the document.
Precisely. Start by scaling down the habit, as Clear puts it. Make it so small you can't not do it. He talks about the 2-minute rule, right?
Yeah.
Downscale any new habit so it takes less than 2 minutes. The real goal at first is just mastering the art of showing up. Consistency first. Once that's solid, then you can gradually make it longer or harder.
That makes so much sense. It's about building that initial momentum, getting over the hurdle of just starting. Okay, our 7th point. This one zooms in on making habits satisfying. We need to feel some kind of reward, some positive kickback from the habits we're trying to build.
And that brings us to the 4th law. Make it satisfying. We're just more likely to repeat something if it feels good afterwards.
Yeah.
That positive reinforcement, it strengthens the whole habit loop in our brain and makes us want to do it again.
And this isn't just about like the big long-term payoff, is it? That immediate good feeling seems really important too.
Oh, absolutely vital. You know, the ultimate benefit of a good habit, getting fit, learning a skill that might be way off in the future.
Right.
But we need something positive right now to keep going. That could be super simple, like tracking your progress on a calendar and seeing the streak build up.
Yeah, ticking the box.
Exactly. Or celebrating small wins, or just having someone, an accountability partner maybe, who notices and says, hey, great job. The point is creating that positive feedback that makes you want to repeat it tomorrow.
Right. That immediate I did it feeling can be really powerful. Okay, finally, our 8th summarized point. This one looks at the flip side.
Okay.
How you can use all these same ideas, but in reverse, to break bad habits.
Exactly. You just invert the 4 laws. If you want to get rid of an unwanted habit, you make the cue invisible.
Hide it.
Make the habit itself unattractive. Focus on the downside.
Make it feel bad.
Make it difficult. Add friction, make it harder to do.
Put obstacles in the way.
And finally, make it unsatisfying. Take away the reward, or even introduce a small, immediate negative consequence.
Okay, so let's say I want to stop grabbing my phone and scrolling social media first thing when I wake up.
Classic example.
So I should keep my phone out of the bedroom, maybe? Make it invisible?
Good start.
Remind myself how it drains my focus for the morning. Make it unattractive. Maybe leave it downstairs so I physically have to get up and go get it.
Yeah.
Make it difficult.
Adding friction, yeah.
Maybe use one of those apps that tracks my screen time and shows me how much time I wasted. Make it unsatisfying.
That's a perfect application of all 4 inverted laws right there.
Yeah.
You see how by tackling each of those angles, you make it way, way harder for that old habit to keep its grip. You're changing the environment and your mindset around it.
Wow, okay. This has been genuinely really illuminating, going through our summary of 8 interesting points.
Yeah.
By pulling out these core ideas, mostly drawing from that really strong framework in Atomic Habits, it feels like we found a really efficient way into understanding how habits actually work.
And if you sort of step back and look at the big picture from these 8 points, what really stands out, I think, is that real significant growth, personal change. It doesn't usually come from those massive overnight transformations we sometimes dream about.
Right.
It's much more about the steady accumulation of these tiny atomic improvements, all guided by, well, actually understanding how habits form and how to make them stick or how to break them.
So, as you're listening and thinking about all this, maybe reflect on which of these 8 summarized points really clicked for you right now. Which part of habit formation, making it obvious, attractive, easy, or satisfying, feels like it might hold the biggest key for you for making a positive shift in your own life?
Good question to ponder.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive.